lads and lasses, welcome to Darts Coaching with Dynamite Dave. Today we've got to the, let's say the meat and two veg of this. It's day 2 of the Steve lamour story. Right, hi lads and lasses. Today is day 2 of the Steve lamour story, and what we're going to do today is actually get into the proper bones of it, the meat and two veg of it. This is where we're going to show you today. It's going to be quite a bit longer a video than it was yesterday, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more interesting. I'm going to now go through the ways that I've changed Steve's throw. We've seen in yesterday's, and we'll have a little bit of a recap of it before we go too much further as we go through the video in the different sections. What we'll do is we'll have a recap of how Steve threw when he first came, and then what we'll do is we'll go on to how we've changed his throw on day 2. Some of the first clips are from day 1, session 2, but that was where I actually just started to ease him across into changing his throw, pointing out where he was going wrong and encouraging him to change slightly. And it started off with a little bit of a change, a little bit more of a change, and a little bit more of a change. So what we'll do is we'll go straight over into section 1 right now, and we can have a look where it all gets started. So let's go over there right now. Right, so here we are over in the first little bit where Steve has first come. What we're doing in this clip, because obviously what I've done is you don't want somebody to walk through the door and just start recording them. So what I've done is I've had Steve in the room now probably for about half an hour. Been settling him down. Obviously when you first turn up to something new like coaching or a new job or anything like that, it's very it's quite stressful, to be honest with you, especially when you don't know like what to expect and that. So it's really important that you spend the first half an hour, 40 minutes getting people settled in, just allowing them to throw whichever way they want. I just say to them, get yourself a bit of a warm up. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll leave the room, go make a brew or something like that, ask them whether they want a drink of tea, make a brew, and that just gives them that 4 or 5 minutes to be on their own in the room and just have a little bit of a chuck at first before we get straight into it. First of all, when we start the actual coaching, what we do is we'll get somebody like Steve here. As you can see, the first 5 minutes of me being in the room, all I've done is I've just stood there, watched the way that he throws naturally, and just observed to see where the changes need to be made. Not made any real like suggestions to change yet, because that's the sort of thing, you don't go in like a bull in a china shop. What you do is you have a look and see where each and every and all the faults are, because there's no point in like pinpointing one fault, asking them to change that, then pinpointing another one. What I'll do is I'll observe everything that you do, and then what I'll do is I'll make a constructive thing in my mind of the way that I believe is the best, not only physical but psychological way of changing you from one throw to another. Now, we've heard this on YouTube and Facebook and what have you over the last couple of weeks, and it's one of the things that really winds me up. And you hear a lot of the even the professionals, whichever way you throw darts, that's how you're going to throw darts for the rest of your life. Tony O'Shea said it in the so-called World Championships. He turned around and said, well, however you throw when you first start throwing, that's how you throw for the rest of your life. Well, that's only if you never taught anything better. That's like saying, yeah, here's the keys to a car, just go and drive it. Do whatever you want, just go and drive it. As long as you can get it down the road, that's all that matters. Well, I'm sorry, that isn't all that matters. There's a lot to driving a car, and there's a lot to throwing darts, and throwing them well. As I've said on 1001 occasions, if you want to be comfortable throwing your darts and you're crap, and you want to remain comfortably crap, then carry on throwing the way that you want to throw. If you're not good, there's a reason for it, and it's not the fact that we've spoke to people, there's people on the channel, and we're not talking 1 or 2, we're talking hundreds and possibly thousands that have thrown the same way for 1, 2, 10, 20 years, and they're still lower average players, and there's a reason for that, isn't there? Think about it. All you've got to do is think about it. There's a reason for that, and that's what Steve realised He was playing darts, he was enjoying playing darts, but he was frustrated because he just couldn't get to that next level. He's come and he's had some coaching with me, 3 days worth of coaching, which is quite a big block. I do get some people come over here for a block of 3. I do get some people who come over here for a week, but that's normally people who are looking for that extra 5%, 4 or 5%. Not really usually the people who are coming from nowhere, because it's a bit too much and it's too intensive. If you're not used to doing the practice and what have you, it can be very grueling. Right, so what we'll do now is we'll get on with watching the clips and let's see how Steve does here. Don't forget, this is his first day after about half an hour of chucking, and we were just settling him in. You have to forgive me, I'm a bit chesty. I think I might have that Chinese flu. Right, so this is the clip that we saw in yesterday's, and like I said, we'd have a bit of a recap, so I thought what I'd do is just integrate it into the actual video itself. So this is how Steve threw, sort of, when he came. It was more extreme than this, because as I said, I've got him in, he's been in half an hour, I've settled him down, and I've just said to him, just try and pull your hand down a little bit from your head when you throw it. And now what we've got is we've got to that first stage of a halfway house. So as you can see here, Steve is coming from anywhere between the top of his eyebrow and the top of his head. When he first came, he was about 2 inches above his head, and obviously up there you've no control over the dart. His arm was completely blocking his vision as he was throwing. The only eye he could use was his left eye. If he was asked, he probably would have said, I'm left eye dominant. Nah, don't work like that. So here we go, here's me, I'm doing a bit of a chuck for him. This is what I say, sometimes what we'll do is we'll go into like not a game situation, but you have a throw, I have a throw, you have a throw, I have a throw. When I'm throwing, you can stand at the side, as Steve does if you watch him. He stands at the side and he watches the way that I actually throw. So you can see that rocking motion in his body as well. And also something that you can't see is his feet, instead of being flat on the floor like that across the hockey, he's got this foot slightly forward and that foot right the way back. So like duck foot, like duck feet, one going forward and one going backward. And the back heel of his back foot is right up off the floor. Obviously these are the sort of things that we start to control and adjust over the next. This is the second 2-hour session, so that goes on in this session, and just like introduce that slowly, and then in the second day, once he's had a sleep on it, that's when we actually, not go in all guns, but make sure and keep on top of him, make sure that he's actually throwing the darts properly and adjusting him them little bit more, and that's where he starts to see the results. Right, so now what we'll do is we'll go over into clip 2, and that is the second session, which is on the Saturday morning. So we're back in the studio Saturday morning, and we'll have a look at a couple of clips that we've done from there. Right, so just before we move on to day 2, what I want to show you is about a 5-second clip from the end of day 1. This was just before Steve went back off to the hotel to chill out for the evening and let Maureen put those little files back in the thing. But this is where we've got him to by the end of day 1, and I think you'll actually agree that it's drastic from the first clip that you've just watched a few seconds ago of Steve when he first came. 4 hours after that, so 2 2-hour sessions after that, this is how I'd adjusted Steve's throw from this, and all you're seeing here is from like the chest upwards, so all you're seeing is his actual mechanical throw, and the difference, I think you'll agree, is absolutely stunning from where he was. Right, so here's Steve coming up to address the hockey, and you can see the difference. Look at the difference in that throw, absolutely amazing from where he was. There's no more of that putting his arm over his head. and that's literally in 2 hours. Right, so what we'll do now is, you've seen the throat, what we'll do is we'll slow it down so you can actually see it in slow motion, and you can see the difference between the two throws. It's just absolutely fantastic when you consider the first 2 hours were just a little bit of adjusting and what have you. Second 2 hours we actually got into the bones of it slightly to try and make those fundamental first steps to a change, and the way that he took to it, because of his attitude and what have you, was absolutely fantastic. He was determined, open to suggestions, everything that I mentioned to him he took it on board and enacted it, and the difference, I think you'll agree, is absolutely fantastic. So let's go now and start day 2. Oh, you've caught me. I was just having a bit of a brew. Right, what I'd like to do is just remind you at this point of this month's raffle and this month's prizes. So this month's raffle is for a signed Dynamite Dave shirt. So we've got a choice of 2 shirts. You've seen the blue one that I wear, not the one that I had in yesterday's, the blue designer. It's a choice between the blue designer shirt or this red shirt, which as you can see looks quite smart. The blue one looks very smart as well. We've got a choice, so you can have a choice of either one of those 2 shirts signed, or a set of John Lowe Ambassador darts. I've put those in because not everybody's going to want a signed shirt. Not everybody's interested in Dynamite Dave. They just like the e-tips and what have you. So it gives them, if they want to have a go in the raffle, it gives them an opportunity of buying something that's actually more mainstream darts related, I suppose. The John Lowe Ambassador darts, if you look in the previous video, not the Steve lamour one, the one before where I took 5 different types of darts, if you look in that one, it's the set of John Lowe darts in that, and you can see I can throw them perfectly well. I think it was ton after ton after ton with them. So if you want an opportunity to win those, so the darts, either one of these shirts, which is the 180 shirt, it'll come with a patch on it and the prostate cancer badge. Obviously the prostate cancer badge you can take off if you don't want it on. It'll be signed. I'll sign it somewhere, probably on the collar somewhere at the back, or £2 down here, PayPal me. You'll see the little PayPal me link at the bottom. If you click on that, it comes up with Dynamite Dave's PayPal me. You can pay by card, you can pay from your own bank account, you can pay in whichever currency you want. So it needs to be, when you click on it, it needs to be in Great British Pounds, GBP. So pay that, it's £2 a go. So if you send £2, you get 1 ticket. If you send £4, you get 2 tickets, etc, etc. Some people have 10 quid's worth, some people have 20 quid's worth. Right, so thanks for that, and let's get back to having a brew. Right, so now Steve's had the opportunity to have a night off. He's gone back to his hotel. He's going to have a couple of drinks and what have you on the Friday night before the Saturday morning session. Have a nice relax, have a nice evening, just let it all sink in of what's happened on the first day. Obviously, like I say, this is a roller coaster, so I don't know what was going on inside Steve's head, but I think he probably had some mixed feelings as well as positivity at the end of the first day, because I've made those changes, but those changes have not materialised into good throwing. All they've done is they've put the building blocks in there for the good throwing to come on the Saturday, which is day 2. And as day 2 progresses, he gets, not only the throw is getting a bit more tuned, but he's actually starting to see some results. So the results are, when he first came, he had a lot of darts that were falling out of the board, a lot of darts that were bouncing out of the board, a lot of very wayward darts, which is only what's to be expected. This is how normal, lower average players are. They're not throwing 60s every visit, they're not throwing 20s every visit. What's known in the trade as muck spreading. So they're all over the place. Rather than being down the line, the darts are drifting off to one side, drifting off to the other. And then on day 2, which is where we're going to now, it starts to hone down, and your accuracy starts to, you start to see a big difference in the way that your accuracy affects the darts. And right, so what we can see here is we can see Steve setting himself up on day 2. So day 2, this is Saturday. We've done about an hour. So basically all we're doing is we're fetching Steve back up to what we were doing the day before, reinforcing what he remembers and what he's thinking, the progress that he's made, having a look to see if anything slipped back, and we've been adjusting that over the last hour. And this is how Steve is throwing about an hour into day 2. Day 2, the session was only 2 hours long, so that structures it so this one is a little bit more compact, but more achievements are made. The smaller differences, but they make more to your accuracy. So the accuracy at the end of day 2 was massively different in those 2 hours than it was in the 4 hours the previous day. So let's just have a quick look at Steve chucking here and the difference in the way that he's throwing. It's just absolutely fantastic. Like I say, there's not a massive amount of difference, so you will have to look carefully. But if you look carefully, you will see the difference in the way that it's now gone from a rebuilding exercise to a fine-tuning exercise. Right, so those are the first 3 hours. So as you can see, massive difference in the way that he's looked. You can see the difference in his attitude and the way that he's throwing. He's got a bit more of a steely determination about him now. And his darts are flying a lot better today than they were the day before. Right, so as you can see from the over the shoulder footage, there's a lot less movement in his darts through there than there was the previous day, and he's now starting to get a little bit more and a little bit better grouping. What I'll do here is I'll go quiet and I'll let you have a listen to the actual, what I'm actually saying to him. You can tell when you've got the ones where you're getting quite a bit of a flick in it is the ones where they're going all over the place. You're getting one up there and then you're getting 1 miles off to the side when you flick it. See, like that. That one was a flick, it went up and down. Yeah. We'll have a look at the footage in a minute. And that's why it's great to have a long format coaching session. I understand it's a bit more expensive, but it means that as you're slipping back, I can check that and fetch you back into line again. And there's no one there to actually stop and pull you back to where you need to be. So that's why a good long format coaching, or coming if you're close enough to me to come for one-to-one coaching and you don't live too far away, then it's great to come over a 2 or a 3 or a 4 week period and maybe only have 1 hour or 2 hours to start off with, get the fundamentals in, have an hour and then have a 2 hour session on the 3rd visit and see where we've got to, and then we can move on from there. And that's why my sort of coaching is far better than what I believe some of the other coaches are. You've got people like Bob Anderson, Wayne Mardle, there's a few out there, but those 2 I'll mention. And Wayne Mardle is charging £200 an hour. Bob Anderson, the last time I had a look, I think it was something like £400 for a half-day session. So that would be like getting there maybe 2 hours or something like that, 2.5 hours for 400 quid. If you fancy some coaching, if you're interested in some coaching, get in touch with me. I ain't charging nowhere near that amount, nowhere near. It's a reasonable amount, and it's very, very well structured, as you've seen through the videos. And if you agree and you're interested and you like the idea of coaching, all you've got to do is get in touch with me at dj.llewellyn123@outlook.com. and we'll get you booked in for a session. Right, so we've been through that first section of video clips. and I'm hoping that you'll agree with me. What a massive difference in the way that he's throwing his darts. He's come from holding the dart above, holding the dart here on his upper brow, going up and then over the top of his head. So from here up and over like this to a standard throw. Right, lads and lasses, hopefully you've enjoyed that. Hopefully it's been informative and entertaining for you. I've really enjoyed making part 2 and I can't wait for part 3. Part 3 is the actual, not the finished product because it takes months before it's the finished product, but it's Steve leaps and bounds, absolute leaps and bounds on from when he came. And also we'll see at the end of tomorrow's, there's a little bit of special footage that I've got for you, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I'm really looking forward to you seeing that. So thanks for watching Dart Coaching with Dynamite Dave. Hopefully you've enjoyed Steve Lamour part 2, or part 2 of the Steve Lamour story, whichever way you want to say it. Yeah, really excited about this video. I've really enjoyed it, right? So thanks for watching. Don't forget, lads and lasses, as you've seen with Steve, you'll only ever get out of this game what you're prepared to put in, and always, to the hockey!